I'm Heather. I'm mom to Remy, who's now 15 months old. And today we're going to be talking about the best, most versatile, and cheapest learning material out there. I'm talking about dirt, of course. And there's so much to cover. We're going to jump into the 10 benefits of dirt and playing in the dirt. We're going to talk about how to prep for all of the dirty fun. And I'm going to provide you with 10 activities to get you started playing out in the dirt. I'm even going to add in a vocabulary guide and some book references for those of you who want to go the extra mile. So enough introing, let's jump into it. There's a whole bunch of you out there hesitating. You're thinking, dirt? Like dirty dirt? Yes. It's the best. And here's 10 reasons why you should not only allow your kids to play in the dirt, but you should push them into spending as much time in the dirt as possible. Do you know how much outside time is recommended by experts? I've seen numbers ranging from 3 to 5 hours a day. I'm gonna let that number sink in. 3 to 5 hours a day. You may be thinking, oh my gosh, that's a lot of time. I know I did. But if you think about it, it's what grandma always used to say, get outside and play. And we're not talking about pushing in the stroller time. We're talking about outside, romping around, exploring their environment. Dirt is going to give you one of the ways to use up that time and entertain the kids outside. Playing in the dirt is terrific sensory play. It really involves all of a child's senses. And I see all of these beautiful activities that take such a lot of time to set up and prep, and really dirt gives you all of the same benefits, but with much less prep time. It's cheap. It's dirt cheap. See what I did there? Working on all of these activities in the dirt is going to develop both fine and gross motor skills. Your child's going to be working every muscle in their body. And while they're doing that, they're going to be developing and refining all of the neural pathways that are associated with the different movements. A lot of the Montessori activities that has been shown to be so beneficial for children focus on developing skills of the hands. It's the pouring and the transferring and the scooping. These are all activities that can be recreated outside in the fresh air. Working in the dirt starts to help children understand how things transform. Add a little bit of water to dry dirt and you start to get clumps. Add a little more and you get something that's almost like clay. Add a little bit more and you've got a soup. These sorts of things help kids understand how things combine and start to transform into different states. Working with and understanding the soil now is going to set kids up for future activities when they start growing plants, when they start exploring nature scientifically, and these types of activities are actually rapidly approaching. Kids who play in the dirt are going to have a richer vocabulary and a larger experience background knowledge to draw from when they start these activities. Once you get kids set up with how to do some of these dirt activities, they actually can become very engaged in their process. And this is great because it, 1, develops concentration, and 2, allows you to sit back and enjoy lemonade underneath a tree. Ingesting dirt has been shown to be really good for your digestive system, for preventing allergies and preventing inflammation. I'm not saying that your child is going to be ingesting bowls full of dirt, but it's great to know that the dirt that they do ingest while they're playing is going to boost their immune system. I'm actually linking a few studies below that is for those of you who are like me and find this sort of thing interesting. Dirt is not only good for your physical well-being, but the bacteria in it is going to be great for your child's mental well-being as well. Something in it makes us less susceptible to stress. I've actually linked another article about how it helps with our mental well-being down below. you want to consider is where all this dirt play is going to take place. If you have any kind of yard, your ideal spot is shaded during the full heat of a summer day, and it's free from plants. We cleared out a small area by our front fence. I'm hoping that in the future we can move this into the backyard where it's a little more secluded and give him a little more space. But for right now, this will have to do. You do need to consider if the spot will likely become a kitty litter box. If this is the case, I recommend putting a tarp over the spot, or what I've started to do is flooding the spot at the end of playtime, making a slushy mud that hardens, and that becomes super unattractive to cats. It's worked so far. I know some of you may not have yards with dirt. That's okay. You can get one of those large bins, the type that you get at Home Depot, and turn it into a kind of dirt bin. You can see that Remy still fits inside this bin. He's getting a little bit big, but when he was smaller, this type of bin would have worked perfectly. The nice part is the dirt stays contained, and at the end of play, you just snap the lid back on. Once you have your spot picked out, it's time to think about equipment. We have a few must-have items that I'm going to go ahead and link down below that makes play a little bit more fun and interesting. The first is gardening equipment. And a lot of these items came together in a beach bucket set. So you've got a bucket, you've got a sifter, you've got a shovel and rake, you've got some molds. All of these things are going to be helpful as the child engages in gardening type play. The next thing we have is kitchen equipment. So we have a mixing bowl, we have a pitcher, we have spoons for stirring, we have a little scoop, we have some cookie cutters and measuring cups. These are all things that he's going to use when he's pretending to cook outside. The next thing I recommend is some kind of truck or wagon, anything with wheels that your child can use to transport dirt and other items around the yard. He has a great time moving things around outside using this. We have items for imaginary play. We went with farm animals that he can use out in the dirt, in the mud. But you can really go in any direction. You could go construction, you could go jungle. We just went farm. Finally, we have a child-sized broom for cleanup. This is a big part of our outside play, is cleaning up after ourselves. And so this gets a lot of use. This one came with the Melissa and Doug cleaning kit, and it works great both indoors and outdoors. I'm a big believer in how the Montessori approach thinks through the environment. And I think that doesn't just stop with a child's playroom or bedroom. I think that also applies to their outside space as well. So what we've gone ahead and done is created a setup outside that mirrors the play shelves that we have going on inside. What I'd love to have is a full set of Montessori shelves outside. But at this point in time, we've made do with using the space underneath a long blue pew that sits on our porch. He knows exactly where to go to find his things and knows exactly where to put things away. Okay, let's get into the fun stuff, the activities. First, we have the most obvious, which is garden play. And this is digging, hoeing, raking, really anything that resembles yard work that you would do. Remy has been working at this for quite some time, probably starting at 5 or 6 months old. At first it was more like scraping at the dirt and tugging at weeds, but slowly he's developed more control over his movements. He now really digs and makes holes, and he can turn dirt up pretty fiercely. There still isn't a lot of purpose, but his hands are getting much more capable of gardening movements. He can even pull a weed or two. Eventually, this type of play is going to turn into planting and caring for a garden. But I also expect that the joy of just digging a hole is going to continue to be there for many, many years to come. Next up, we have scooping and transferring. It's the type of action that you see in a lot of Montessori shelf activities. Using a tool to scoop up material and then move it into a container. Remy's practicing these skills on the outside using shovels, scoops, spoons, really anything he can get his hands on. For me, the best part of this is the amount of repetition that he's getting. He's doing it over and over again. Then we have pouring. This can be practiced with either dirt or water. With dirt, Remy practices pouring dry dirt from one container back to another container. With water, he practices pouring water into the dirt or into a mud mixture. This is another Montessori skill practice that we have indoors that can be supplemented outside. This has been great because he still doesn't have the greatest control, but he loves putting in the effort. Number 4 is transporting. Remy loves to take dirt from one spot, transport it to another spot. Transporting is one of those schemas that drive early childhood play. Schemas are sensitive periods where children are testing out and constructing mental models about the world around them. For a great rundown on schemas and how to use them effectively to create better playtime for your children, check out the playlist by The Hidden Gem. It's great stuff and I've linked it down below. Anyway, when he's transporting, he will use his hands, shovels, spoons, the big truck, or his wagon to move dirt around the entire yard. And then there's the joy of making mud pies. This is the start of outside kitchen play. Remy mixes up mud pie batters by using his measuring cups to add in dirt and water, and then using his spoon to stir and blend the two together. This activity helps him work on certain cooking skills, but also shows him how things change states and transform. Eventually, I hope to create a true mud kitchen for him outside, because I think that outside kitchen play is so much more dynamic than when it's done inside a playroom. Number 6 is sifting. A lot of these beach bucket kits come with a sifter lid. And when we first started playing in the dirt, I was sifting out a lot of the rocks. He started watching me do this and started emulating my actions. He's not great at it yet, but he loves to try. As he becomes more skilled, we can start separating hidden things out of the dirt and start sorting them. Number 7 is painting with mud. After a little experimentation, I came up with the paint recipe of 1.5 cups of dirt to 1/2 cup of water. That's the ratio that works well for our soil. We have paint brushes that are my heavy-duty work brushes, so he can go to town painting the sidewalk or wall. And at the end, I just rinse it off and there's a new canvas waiting for us. I love that he gets to learn how to manipulate a brush in a low-stakes setting. And as he gets older, the art play can continue as he practices sculpting and making little pottery creations. You can have a treasure hunt. For us, this was a multi-part project. The first thing that we did was we went on a rock hunt around our yard. This was mostly me finding rocks and him pushing them around in his truck. The boy loves to transport, what can I tell you? We've been working on a whole color unit inside, so I painted the rocks some bright, vibrant colors that would correspond to what we're working on inside. And then we play treasure hunt. He watches me bury the rocks, and then he digs them up. Right now, he's just learning how this game works, but I'm really excited for the time in the future where we get to act as archaeologists and dig things up and create fictional societies based on our findings. Number 9 is cleaning up. And yes, this is an activity, and it can actually be a kind of interesting one, especially when you consider that inside it's harder to see what your broom is cleaning up, and outside it becomes very clear. He's been really into his broom forever. He basically learned to walk by holding on to one. Right now, he's still working out how to fully control the broom and get it to do what he wants, but I'm really happy that he's figuring out that At the end of playtime outside, you clean up just like you do inside. Number 10 is imaginative play. Why not take those animal figures that you have and give them a farm or a jungle? It just makes sense for kids to play with animals in the dirt. It adds a sense of context and realism to their play. At 15 months old, Remy's far too young to be engaging in imaginary play. But at this point in time, he still likes putting the animals into holes and having them ride around in his truck. There's a couple of ways to extend the good learning that's happening outside. The first is to make sure that you're using a rich vocabulary about the tools and the actions and the environment around them. I've added a vocabulary guide in the description that can really guide your play. The second thing that you can do is be sure to incorporate books into your reading time that highlight some of the things going on outside. We have a couple of books about farming that we read. We have a book about bugs and some of those little crawly things that we see outside. And we even have a busy builder book that relates to some of the construction play that we have going on. Bonus points for taking your reading outside and pointing to some of the things that you see in the books. This is going to help the children make connections between the books and what's going on in the real world. Also, don't be afraid to bring in and integrate any big ideas that you're working on inside into the outside play. I talked about us doing a color unit and integrating that, but maybe you're working on numbers and you can have the child start counting dirt clods. Maybe you're working on shapes and you can press shapes into the dirt. Whatever it is that you're working on can be supplemented outside. We've covered a lot of ground today about what dirt play can look like, especially in early toddler years. I'm hopeful that as Remy progresses and he continues to play with dirt, that I'll be able to capture some of that and share what dirt play looks like in an older toddler. But I'd really like to hear from you, any ideas that you have that are working for you out in the dirt. I'm always eager to introduce new ideas to Remy, so please add those ideas to the comment section. If any of this has been helpful, please subscribe. We're going to put out videos about literacy and play and practical life skills every Tuesday. Thanks for watching.